Hello, everyone. This is Mary. Thanks for coming to my channel. And I just wanted to get into, as you can see on the pictures of Scream. We are going to have Scream coming out on the 16th, which is not the 16th, the 10th, which is just, a couple days away, technically, if you're doing the Thursday night. But there's actually some people who already came and saw it on Tuesday and tonight, Wednesday. And so, anyway, I wanted to kind of give my thoughts and feelings of the new Scream 6 movie. So, I'm a big, huge horror fan and I love Scream. It's probably in my top three, five, whatever franchise. Anyway, I wanted to kind of give my thoughts on who could be the killer, who could like live, die, whatever. But anyway, I feel like there's a lot of, Randy, Stu, whatever, with like theories. Not so much Randy because, you know, he got stabbed really good. But then again, people think Stu is still alive and he had a big heavy TV falling on his head, you know. Anyway, I just wanted to give my thoughts, my 2 cents on who could be behind it, whether like overall over it or one of the kind of not necessarily minions because we haven't had minions like people who work for like the overall. Maybe there's like a head ghost face that kind of is manipulating, kind of like Roman did with Billy Loomis and Stu Macher, because in Scream 3 we found out that Roman kind of not necessarily manipulated Billy, but like told Billy about, Maureen Prescott and her, and her little rendezvous with his dad. So I just feel like maybe since, and I was thinking maybe Sydney Prescott's dad was involved, but then we kind of, I don't remember seeing the actual scene, but I guess in a deleted scene in like Scream 3 or Scream 4 or something that Sydney Prescott's dad passed away and like in between maybe Scream 3 and Scream 4 or something like that. But anyway, I was thinking maybe her dad, Sydney's dad, because, his wife had an affair and was unfaithful to him. How could he do that to her, to him and her, their child, blah, blah, blah. So another thing I was thinking of, what if it was Billy Loomis's dad? I know it's similar to Mrs. Loomis, his ex-husband or ex-wife or whatever, having it being like, something simple and having it be like revenge like Mrs. Loomis. But, you know, they may not have been married and he may have, had an affair with Sydney Prescott's, mother and stuff. But they're both parents and they both are the parents of Billy and both love Billy. So, Mrs. Loomis at the time and Mr. Loomis were, of course, separated and divorced and all that. So Mrs. Loomis had her attempt at getting revenge on Sydney. So what if maybe it's just Billy Loomis's dad's turn, How about that? So could be. I don't remember hearing if Hank Loomis, Billy Loomis's dad, has passed away. So maybe he could not necessarily, he probably won't be in this Scream 6, but what if he's like the head, like, you know, um, maybe him and Roman were like the main people, or maybe took over after Roman, died. That Cindy killed him, so, or whatever, So maybe Roman blackmailed Hank or something. Now that Roman's gone, he can kind of like get back at Roman in a sense, even though Roman's dead, and get back at the people who, kind of relate to past and, you know. But I know that since Billy's dad is the grandfather to Sam, he probably won't do anything to her. So that is another reason why I think that Sam won't be killed. And that maybe, and then, with Sam being the new final girl, basically. She could be the new Sidney Prescott, but at this, since poor Ned Campbell is not going to be coming back, but um, or at least we think. Hopefully, Nev Campbell will come back for seven. To kind if it's a true trilogy, then hopefully she'll come back for one last hurrah. Kind of like what Jamie Lee Curtis did with the new Halloween trilogy, and that apparently with Jamie Lee Curtis, that last Halloween ends is was her last Halloween movie that she's ever gonna do. Like I'm sure she's probably gonna do horror movies, but then again, Jamie Lee Curtis has said that she doesn't like watching them. So anyway, if it is like a true trilogy and similar to um, Miss Jamie Lee Curtis fashion, maybe Nev Campbell can kind of finish out the trilogy, even though she didn't, or at least is not going to be in Scream 6. Then hopefully she can be in Scream 7, and that everyone can work in agreement with pay, because, like Nev said, she deserves to have the money that she is owed, basically. And I kind of agree with that, because if Nev Campbell has been with Scream for over 25 years, like, wow, can you believe it? In just a few short years, it'll be 30 years, because it's 2023 now, and the first Scream came out in 1996. So I'm just saying that she's been with it for so long that hopefully now that, Scream 5 may not have been a lot of people's favorite. I enjoyed it. I've only seen it like 2 or 3 times, or 2.5 times, but I actually liked it because I have been with the franchise pretty much since the get go, like from the beginning. Sure, I was only 8, 9, 10 when the first one came out, but I still watched it. That was like one of my favorite movies to rent at Blockbuster. Like every time I could, I would rent it at Blockbuster and watch it. And then, or whenever it was on cable, I would watch any of them. Like I would watch, and I would say that since I did have cable and it was on cable a lot, the first one that I've seen the most was probably, of course, the original. Original's good, but the one that was ended up, it's so weird. It's kind of like Halloween 4 and 5. Um, Halloween 3 was like the one that I always caught on cable. Like, so that was like the one that I always caught on cable was Scream 3. So out of all of them, I would say probably Scream 3 was probably, other than Scream 1, Scream 3 was the one that I used to watch all the time because it was always on cable whenever I was flipping through the channels. And I did would rent, all the rest as well, and just watch them, like, Scream 1, 2, 3. That was a good trilogy. Then we got Scream 4. Again, I've only seen Scream 4 a handful of times, maybe like 2 times all the way through. And I would, whenever it was on cable or whatever, I would sit and watch whatever. But I like them. I'm a true trilogy person, so I love the first three. I did enjoy the fourth, but I just think that with all this, I liked, and I don't know. I think we'll have somebody who isn't necessarily related with everything, but it could be that maybe, in a sense, the whole big huracha of who may be doing it, like I said, is Billy Loomis's dad. So maybe he is kind of being like the puppeteer, and maybe he is trying to like get rid of everyone around Sam, just so then that way, maybe since Sam is his granddaughter, then maybe he has something to do with it in a sense. And so what if like maybe he can kind of, with these day and age of technology and whatnot, maybe he kind of got a hold of Richie and Amber in Scream 5. Because we all know that Richie and Amber met on a Reddit post. But what if like maybe the the original poster of that Reddit was, maybe Sam's grandfather, Billy Loomis's dad. What if, he kind of encouraged them in the comments to, do this or that and whatnot. Maybe egg them on to meet and egg them on to be this or that. So maybe he just wants Sam for himself, basically, to kind of have his connection with Billy since Billy is gone. And of course, I know that he probably wouldn't want that because, of his ex wife, Mrs. Loomis, but kind of revenge not only for Mrs. Loomis, but for Billy, obviously. But I don't know. And I want all of them to survive because I love all of the old characters, the new characters, and they did Dewey dirty. They did Dewey dirty. But in a sense, and I agree with a lot of people that in the fifth one, since they did kill him off, it did seem to bring Sydney and Gail a little bit closer because he was the one that he was the glue. And now that Sydney's not coming back, at least for six, hopefully, Gail, she wants to kind of live on to kind of promote what good of a guy Dewey was and wants him to be forever known for being such a good guy. Because she said, no, Dewey's the good guy. And that was in like what, Scream 2? Yeah, Scream 2. And she said that to Mrs. Loomis before we knew she was Mrs. Loomis. But that being said, maybe I'm kind of on the fence whether Gail's going to survive or not. I want to say she will survive, but I have kind of like this gut feeling that maybe she'll die. And not because she's like, oh, kill me now, you killed my best friend, kind of like how she was yelling at Amber, like, you killed my best friend. But um, then I want to say that maybe she will, or maybe it will be like a fake out death, kind of like Dewey had a few of those with 2 and 3, and even 1 for that matter, actually. Because I think I heard that in the original Scream that he was actually supposed to die in the first one, and people just loved him, and so they decided to keep him and whatnot. So, and I think that's also another reason why the film people would um, film extra scenes, like extra filler, like extra scenes, just in case, you know, if in the original cut in the original story they wanted that person to die, but then they also will film a scene that they won't use unless unless somebody else changes it, but they'll also film a scene where they do survive and not die. So then that way, if it's then that's also another reason why they have um, pre-screenings like before it comes out. So then that way the audience that comes to the pre-screeners say, oh, I didn't like that character died, I loved him so much. So then that way they can go back, re-edit it, and add that scene where they do survive. So that's why I think, and I'm not like a film major or anything like that, but I would like to work on films one day, whether on and off the screen or whatever. But that just makes sense because then that way you can just not have to worry about going back and doing post edit. Sorry, stupid motorcycles and whatnot. So then that way they don't have to like. I would assume that it will take more money to bring the actors back to film it, and then build the set again, bring back everything. So it's better just to have it filmed when they're there and then just edit it out later if they have to. But with that being said, my theory may be really stupid and not having any legs to stand on, but that is, I'm sure that there's probably other people who probably suggested that as well, but I haven't. That is maybe a theory that I don't think hardly anyone has suggested. Maybe it was Billy's dad. Like I said, I don't remember, and it's been forever since I've seen Scream 2 and Scream 3 and whatnot, and even Scream 4 for that matter, to say whether or not Billy Loomis's dad died. Like, I just, with Scream 3 and stuff, and even Scream 4, we knew that, Sidney Prescott's dad died. So it can't be him. But I don't remember hearing if Billy Loomis's dad died. So, and that's something that we can kind of think of. And I hope that no one comments on mine and said, hey, you know what? That's exactly what happened. I don't. So, those of you who have actually seen it earlier than most of us, seen it on Monday, Tuesday, tonight on Wednesday, and whatnot, please don't spoil it. I want to be surprised, but I'm just trying to make it easier and a little bit more original when it comes to guesses and stuff. And of course, I know that, I'm rambling right now and whatnot, but I just hope that we get something that would satisfy everyone, because I know with Scream 5, it being, over 10 years since we had a Scream, that, we just, and even then, when we had Scream 4, it was like, what, 11 years since they had a Scream. So it's like you have pretty much, you have the first Scream, 96, Scream 2, 97, and then you had Scream 3 in 2000. And then and that was only like 3 years between Scream 2 and Scream 3. So it was a gap, but not like as big of a gap as from Scream 3 to Scream 4 and Scream 4 to Scream 5. So I just hope that maybe in a sense we can get um everyone satisfied, because I know that, like was saying earlier, that not a lot of people were that satisfied with Scream 5. I enjoyed it for what it was. I'm a big true like Scream fan, and I have been with the franchise since it started. Basically, I was actually alive and saw it pretty early on when it came out. Like as soon as it was available for release at Blockbuster to like rent, I would rent it. And as soon as I first watched it, when I rented it, I just kept that was one of my go-tos. Like any of them were my go-tos to rent at Blockbuster or Hollywood Video or any other rental store that you have. But anyway, but anyway, I just hope that you guys can uh, like my theory or not. I don't really have a preference of whether you like it or not, because it's just my theory. I'm just getting my thoughts. Might not work, might not be true, but it's a thought, and that's not necessarily facts. And maybe if I say something, maybe other people will be like, oh yeah, okay, that's fine. And if you don't agree, then that's fine, because like I said, thoughts are not facts. Like kind of like opinions. Like you may have an opinion, but that doesn't mean that your opinion is right. And it doesn't mean my opinion is right. Doesn't mean my thoughts are wrong. Doesn't mean your thoughts are wrong, you know. So anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed my rambling and my video. I hope that if you guys go and see it, that you guys, if you're going to do a review, please don't spoil it for anyone else that hasn't seen it yet, because they probably have, other um, duties that they have to do before they aren't, because I'm seeing it tomorrow night, Thursday night, and I'm actually seeing it again on Friday. So I'm seeing it luckily twice. Once on the premiere night. Well, it's not the premiere night, but in a sense it is. But I'm seeing it twice. But I'm going to hold off. If I'm going to do a review, I'm going to hold off until like maybe a week or two from now. Just so then that way it gives a chance for those who want to see it can see it and not be, have me go and say, hey, this is spoilery. Or if I do a my thoughts on it, then I will do it with the that with being, spoiler free. But I know that there's a lot of people who do it as spoiler free, and then the next day, like on the day of that it comes out, they do a spoiler one. And I'm like, not everyone has the time to go and see it like the night of or the night before. So, um, and of course, it's viewer beware type of thing. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this. Sorry for my rambling and going off topic. But again, I hope that you guys have a great day. And I hope that you guys stay bloody with this one and enjoy your day.